Good morning, namaste. I hope that you are all well today. I'm going to be back here because there's lots of ants here today. We are going to do the Iyengar Day 2 of the 30-week series, so we're going to stay with the same sequence as yesterday, but I will just kind of be talking through the poses a little bit more. The first one is Vrikshasana, tree pose. So we're going to start with the rooting technique, which is pulling up those 5 toes, spreading the toes nice and wide, before putting the pinky and the big toe down, feeling the engagement in the arch of our foot, and then putting those middle 3 toes down. That strengthens and engages the whole front of body, engages those abdomens, roll those shoulders back and down for a nice anatomical positioning. Then we're going to start bringing the foot either to the ankle, the calf, or above the knee. Yesterday I did demonstrate the most advanced Vrikshasana pose. Today I'm just going to demonstrate this one just to show you the different levels of yoga. Different hand variations that you can find are cactus, regular tree pose, steeple, interlace your hands and press the palms up, or even dancing tree. What you do want to focus on when you're in tree pose is that engagement in the abs, so that way our hips are in a neutral position, but then also to make sure that our shoulders don't do this. We don't want them to be up by the ears. We want to relax them down and then externally rotate them slightly so that we're drawing the scapulas back towards the midline or towards the spine. Exhale, release. With Iyengar, you do want to hold the poses for 20 seconds, but just for the sake of the video, I will shorten it for you guys. So again, engage that abdomen to make sure our hips are in nice alignment. And then when you're ready, you can take whatever hand variations feel good for you. The second pose in the Iyengar sequence 1 is Trikonasana, triangle pose. So we want to stand with our hips facing open. My left leg, the toes are facing in the direction that my body will move, and then my back foot is facing towards you guys. So my front foot is actually perpendicular to my back foot. We inhale, let those hands rise to either side. Again, strong through the back, engaging those scapulas. And then we're going to come forward as if someone's pulling us by our fingertips before rotating the shoulders, allowing one hand to come down, the other hand to come up. You want to make sure that the shoulders are stacked and that our hands are in one solid straight line to make sure that we have good proprioception, or a good understanding of where our body is in space. We don't want to have our hand too far back, too far over. We really just want to focus on that straight line. There's a subtle movement here where a lot of people tend to look hunched in their oblique muscles, so we want to engage our oblique muscles, straighten out and come through. Having a slight give in our straightened leg, so that way we're not hyperextending into the knee to prevent from injury. Then before switching sides, what I like to do is just carry on with the rest of the sequence, which is then coming and bending into that knee so it's over the ankle, dropping the hips down so that it's in line with the front knee, and then coming into Parsavottanasana, or side angle pose. So Kona means angle. We can either put our elbow on our knee, our hand reaches straight. So the hand to foot should be one straight long line. You could bring your hand down to the other foot. Or if you have full capacity and shoulder mobility, you can come into a bind here. You want to push with the back foot as if you're pushing the ground away. The energy is like coming up through the legs. For Warrior 2, same foundation as Parsavottanasana, coming out to hands at either side. Our head gazes over the first fingers. Engaging that abdomen so that way our hips are in proper alignment. We don't want to be spilling our hips down, nor tucking it so far back that our hips kind of point up. We want to make sure that we engage our abdomen so our hips, if we have our hands on our iliac crest, they are parallel to the ground. Coming back into Warrior 2 just for one more second. If Iyengar, you're supposed to take time to get into the poses. That's why he has a lot of prop work. So you can sit with a chair, and later on next week, or tomorrow actually, I'm doing with props. But if you don't have props, or if it's difficult, come out for a second. Take a breath. Come back into it. Feel that fire. Feel the power working through those muscles. Then I like to switch sides because I've just done all those poses on one side before I go into the neutral hip poses. So, triangle pose, again activating the Mula Bandha, activating our abdomen, having our hands extend to either side, shoulders are away from the ears. We reach forward and then turn at our shoulders. You can even keep your hand down if you take the longer Parsavottanasana pose by just bending into the knee, making sure those hips are at the same height as the knee. I'm going to scoot back a little bit so you can see me. Bring your hand either to the inside or the outside of the foot. Stretch the hand nice and long so it's one continuous energy pushing through that back foot, being really open in the hips. Inhale, coming up into Warrior 2. Make those transitions that you need, those body movements to make sure that you have proper alignment. I have to press my foot forward a little bit more so I can get my hip to knees level. This one I'm almost there. I'm almost to having my hips level with my knee. This is why we hold it and breathe into those poses. You're creating a lot of fire, a lot of strength in your quadriceps throughout this whole practice. So just taking the moments that you need to get into the pose. Very active yoga pose. So we just did the open hip portions of the pose. It's Vrikshasana, Trikonasana, Parsavottanasana, and a Virabhadrasana 2, or 2. So Warrior 2. Now we're going to bring our hips. If you notice, I shortened my stance because we're going into neutral hip poses. I'm also going to start on this side, so I'm bringing that foot out a little bit, so that my hips can rotate. This back foot is turning with my hips to face towards forward. Then once I feel my hips are nice and forward, I want to make sure I'm not dropping my belly forward, nor do I have my hips too far forward. So I want to engage those abdomens, strengthen, make sure my hips are both facing forward, bend into the front knee. I got to keep bending, keep bending, keep bending, trying to get the hips down to the knee, but pushing through that back foot so that our heel doesn't come off the ground. We extend down and out, making sure those hips are forward. Then when I'm ready in my foundation, the first platform of my foot, the second with my hips, I can start raising my hands up for warrior two. I drop those shoulders down and away from my back or away from my ears. Exhale, straighten that front leg. I bring my hands down. Bring them to the back. You can either have your fists touch, grab your elbows, or the maximum pose, bring reverse prayer hands, press into the palms to activate through the heart. Have your front leg straight, but not hyperextended. Make sure that when you press through your shoulders here, you don't just sit in your belly. Activate those abdominals again. Proper alignment, active bodies, and then we exhale, forward fold. Coming into pyramid pose. Padasavottanasana. Padasavottanasana. The action is drawing my right hip back and my left hip forward, so that way I can be with my neutral hipped position. Inhale, come up, switch sides. Again, so I'm taking this back leg, I'm bringing it out so that my hips can fully rotate. Your feet do not need to be one in front of the other like you're walking the catwalk or like you're walking a slack line. You can have your feet hip distance apart so you can rotate that hip forward and have both hips facing forward. Coming first into Virabhadrasana 1. So we send that foot forward a little bit, engage those abdominals. Send the knee forward, bringing those hips down to the positioning of the knee. Hands rise, lower the shoulders away from the ears. Engage those abdominals again. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Bring the hands back. Come into your reverse prayer position. Stretch through the shoulders, through those pectoral muscles, bringing the scapulas towards the spine, hips forward. Slight give in the front knee. Pressing back through the back heel, and exhale, come forward and down. Inhale, come up, shake your body out. And then we're going to come into the last of the poses, or the last two of the poses, before ending his sequence, which is a shoulder stand. I'm going to get closer. Hope there's no ants here. Let me see. So shoulder stand, Salamba Sarvangasana. The key here is that we want to make our chin reach towards our forehead. Our chest will reach towards our chin, which will close this gap, activating the Jalabandha. That's a very specific cue that should be given because it will help with the natural curvature of the cervical spine. So that's an important cue to make sure that you practice. So, shoulder stand, coming down on the bottom, down on our backs. We're going to have our hands straight up, and then we're just going to kick our legs up. Place our hands on our lower back. Walk those elbows together. Look towards your forehead. Press your chest in, and then press your feet back. That's counteractive to the chest movement so that our bodies are nice and straight. When you feel steady on your shoulders, you can interlace your hands and come down. Exhale, last pose, Halasana plow pose. We drop the feet back. We press into the hips so that we're active in our, we press into the heels so that we're active in our back body. Feeling the stretch, feeling those meridians go from our heel all the way into our upper gluteus maximus and into our lower back. The full extended version of plow pose is to bring those knees down to either side of the ears. Exhale and unrolling. Last pose, Shavasana. Let the shoulders walk out a little bit, lying your hands with your palms up, letting your feet be laid out straight in front of you. Roll over to the right side, and then press yourself up into seated.
Mommy, you are all dirty.
Oh, I know it. Finishing off the class with a simple thank you. Namaste.